The sun was blazing, but the world was a vibrant, sprawling green. Despite the heat, the marketplace was buzzing, a kaleidoscope of life and energy. Stalls overflowed with colorful goods, from earthy clay pots to whimsical children's toys. Merchants from distant lands, draped in exotic costumes, called out to passers-by. But amidst this lively chaos, one stall held a strange and magnetic pull. It wasn't selling trinkets or treasures. It was selling human bones, specifically human skulls. Naturally, this was where the biggest crowd had gathered. Everyone was craning their necks, whispering, trying to get a glimpse of this macabre spectacle. The storekeeper was a figure straight out of a storybook. He was dressed like a gypsy, a colorful head covering shadowing his face, and two pistols, which looked very real and very loaded, were tucked into his belt. By his side was a young girl, maybe 16 years old, in a flowing black bohemian dress. Every so often, she would burst into a mesmerizing belly dance. Her movements fluid and captivating, drawing even more people in. But the real showstopper, the thing that had everyone frozen in place, was the skulls themselves. They weren't just inanimate objects. Whenever the gypsy pointed a small, slender stick at them, the skulls would start to sing. Their hollow jaws would move, and eerie, melodic tunes would float through the air. It was pure magic, or so it seemed. A little girl, no older than 8, her eyes wide with wonder, whispered to her mother, "Is this from Harry Potter?" The gypsy's friendly demeanor vanished in an instant. He shot the girl a dirty look, his voice booming across the stunned crowd. "Just watch your tongue. Don't talk about things you don't understand." He scanned the faces of the onlookers, his expression fierce. "Okay, I am here to sell these magical skulls. They are unique, powerful, and they can do a lot of work for anyone who buys them. And today, only today, I'm selling them cheap. Just £30 each, one per person. First come, first served. Don't ask for more, because you will be refused." A wave of hesitation rippled through the crowd. Singing skulls were one thing, but buying one felt like a step into the unknown. Still, the allure was strong, and after a few tense moments, a few brave souls stepped forward, money in hand, and walked away with their very own singing skull. On the edge of the crowd, 2 uniformed police officers, John and Elizabeth, watched the scene unfold. They had been observing the gypsy stall for a while, and something felt deeply wrong. The man's aggressive behavior, the girl's continuous dancing, and of course, the singing skulls, it was all too strange. John quietly spoke into his radio, relaying every detail back to the station. The orders came back quickly. "Fall back. Detectives are on their way." Moments later, John and Elizabeth melted back into the marketplace, and 2 new figures took their place. A man and a woman, dressed in casual civilian clothes, blended seamlessly into the crowd, but their eyes were sharp, missing nothing. They were detectives, and they had a feeling this gypsy's magic show was just a cover for something much darker. The detectives watched, patient and observant. They saw how the gypsy handled the skulls, the way he commanded them, the strange connection he seemed to have. And they noticed something else. As night began to fall and the market started to wind down, the gypsy packed up his store, but he kept a few of the skulls separate. He whispered to them, his words too low to hear, and then he let them go. But they didn't just sit there. The skulls levitated, floated silently into the twilight, and disappeared in the direction of the nearby residential streets. The detective's instincts screamed. This wasn't just a bizarre performance. The gypsy wasn't just a magician. He was a master thief. The singing skulls were his accomplices. The detectives pieced it together. These weren't just skulls. They were enchanted conduits, perhaps even spirits bound to the bone. They could slip into homes undetected, their skeletal forms passing through keyholes or under doors like smoke. Once inside, they would gather money, jewelry, anything of value, and bring it back to their master. It was the perfect crime, an impossible robbery method that left no fingerprints, no broken locks, just bewildered victims. The detectives knew they had to act fast. They followed the gypsy as he left the market, trailing him to a secluded, run-down building on the outskirts of town. They watched as he settled in, waiting for his skeletal minions to return with their loot. This was his operation, his way of robbing an entire town blind, without ever setting foot inside a house himself. But his reign of magical thievery was about to come to a sudden end, just as the first skull was seen floating back towards the building, its empty eye sockets seeming to gleam with the reflection of stolen gold. The detectives gave the signal. A team of officers, who had been waiting in the shadows, swarmed the building. The gypsy was caught completely by surprise. He reached for his pistols, but it was too late. The detectives were on him in a flash, and the bizarre supernatural crime spree was over. The singing skulls were collected as evidence, their melodies finally silenced, and the dark magic of the marketplace was put to an end for good. It's a wild story, a reminder that things are not always as they seem, and sometimes the most enchanting performances hide the darkest secrets. What do you think? Could magic like this actually exist? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.